Imagine standing on the edge of a vast, frozen tundra 10,000 years ago. The wind is biting, and the shadows of predators loom in the distance. To your left, your tribe gathers around a fire, sharing warmth and food. To your right, there is nothing but the cold, dark expanse of the wilderness. In this world, being cast out isn't just a blow to your ego. It is a death sentence. You cannot hunt the mammoth alone. You cannot stay awake through the night to guard against the saber-tooth. Your very survival is woven into the fabric of the group. This is where our story begins. Not in a modern therapist's office or a social media feed, but in the brutal reality of survival biology. We are the descendants of the people who were terrified of being left behind. We carry their DNA, and with it, an ancient, relentless drive for social validation that still dictates our lives today. Even though we no longer face the same physical threats, our brains haven't quite caught up to the modern world. We still treat a dislike or a cold shoulder as if it were a threat to our existence. This evolutionary legacy created what psychologists call the looking glass self. Back in 1902, a thinker named Charles Horton Cooley proposed that we don't actually have a fixed image of ourselves. Instead, we develop our self-image by imagining how we appear to others. It's a three-step dance.
First, we imagine how we look to the person across from us. Then, we imagine their judgment of that appearance. And finally, we experience an emotional reaction, like pride or shame, based on that perceived judgment. We are, in a sense, living in a hall of mirrors, constantly adjusting our posture based on the reflections we see in the eyes of everyone we meet. Consider the story of a young artist in a bustling city. She spends months painting a canvas, pouring her soul into every brushstroke. When it's finished, she doesn't look at it and feel a sense of completion. Instead, she waits. She waits for the first person to walk into her studio. If they smile, her heart soars. If they walk past without a glance, her work feels worthless. Her self-esteem isn't an internal score she keeps for herself. It's a sociometer. This theory suggests that self-esteem is actually a psychological gauge, much like the fuel light in your car. It doesn't tell you how good you are, it monitors your inclusionary status. When that light flickers, it's a signal that your social bonds are at risk, producing a pang of distress designed to make you fix the relationship before you end up alone in the cold. This need for validation is a fundamental human requirement, sitting right in the middle of Maslow's famous hierarchy of needs. We need food and safety first, but once those are met, we crave belonging and esteem.
Maslow made a crucial distinction here. There is the external reputation, the status and recognition we get from others. And then there is internal self-respect, the mastery and competence we feel within. He argued that while children naturally seek praise from the outside, a healthy adult must eventually move towards self-actualization. This is the pursuit of authenticity, where you do things because they are meaningful to you, regardless of the applause. However, we are currently living through a period where the validation paradox has reached a breaking point. While seeking some external validation is natural, it becomes a trap when it becomes the primary source of your worth. You see this in the person who can't choose a shirt without texting 3 friends for approval, or the creator who feels a deep depression if a video doesn't perform. We have entered an era where our ancient social reward systems have been effectively hijacked by technology. Think about the last time you posted something online and found yourself checking your phone every 2 minutes. That isn't a character flaw, it's neurobiology. Social media platforms are designed to engage the brain's mesolimbic dopamine system, the same part of the brain that manages the anticipation of rewards like food or money. When you see a like or a comment, your nucleus accumbens lights up. But the real genius, and the real danger, lies in something called variable ratio reinforcement. It's the same logic used in slot machines.
If you won every time you pulled the lever, you'd eventually get bored.
But because the rewards appear at unpredictable intervals, sometimes a post goes viral, sometimes it disappears into the void, your brain stays in a constant state of seeking. You keep checking, keep scrolling, and keep performing for an invisible audience. The stakes of this digital loop are higher than we realize. Research shows that chronic, problematic social media use can actually lead to structural changes in the brain. It's been associated with reduced gray matter volume in the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for executive control and decision-making, as well as the amygdala. Essentially, the brakes of the brain start to wear thin, making it harder to control impulses. This is especially
especially true for adolescents, whose reward systems are hyper-responsive, while their prefrontal cortex won't fully develop until their mid-20s. They are driving high-speed Ferraris with the brakes of a bicycle, all while navigating a world that demands they be liked to feel safe. So how do we break the cycle? How do we move from the external reputation Maslow warned about toward a genuine sense of internal worth? It begins with a shift toward values-based living. Imagine a man who has spent his whole life trying to be the successful person his parents wanted him to be. He has the car, the job, and the social status, but he feels empty. One day he stops asking, what will they think? And starts asking, does this align with my values?
He realizes he values creativity and quiet more than status and noise. By establishing an internal reference point, he creates emotional stability. His self-worth is no longer a leaf blowing in the wind of other people's opinions. It is a tree with deep roots. Building this internal validation requires intentional work. It involves identifying the triggers, the loneliness or anxiety that sends you running for external praise, and using tools like mindfulness or cognitive behavioral therapy to challenge the negative thoughts that tell you you aren't enough. It means setting digital boundaries, taking the detoxes that allow your dopamine system to reset, and learning to validate your own experiences without needing a witness to confirm they happened. Ultimately, the goal isn't to become a hermit who cares for no one. We are and always will be social creatures. Belonging is a beautiful, multi-dimensional experience. It's a two-way street of reciprocity where you feel valued by a group, and in turn, you act in ways that benefit that group. On a societal level, this sense of belonging is the glue of social cohesion. When people feel they truly belong to their community or nation, they are motivated to contribute to the greater good. But when exclusionary narratives and discrimination push people to the margins, that cohesion weakens. The journey from seeking validation to finding belonging is the great arc of a human life. We start in the tribe, desperate for the firelight and the nod of approval.
We navigate the hall of mirrors, trying to figure out which reflection is the real us. We face the addiction of the digital slot machine, but the payoff, the true meaning, comes when we realize that we don't have to wait for the world to tell us we are worthy. When we cultivate internal worth, we don't just survive the cold of the tundra, we carry the fire within ourselves. We find that the most important like isn't the one that flashes on a screen, but the quiet, steady recognition of our own value, rooted in our own values, and shared with a community that sees us for who we truly are.